Okay, we're going to finish up your going home and first weeks and days with your puppy instructions. First, let's talk about a calm puppy. A calm puppy is something that is created. I have used parents that are calm, which is a big part of it. The genetics play a big role. And then I have worked hard to teach calm as a behavior to the puppies. Part of that is requiring them to sit before being pet instead of just jumping and going crazy. And then I reward them when I catch them being calm. And I can encourage you to do that as well, especially like places like at puppy class. Our dogs usually will just lay down and just be really good. So then you want to click and treat and just reinforce that calm. Or if you walk by and see them in their crate, or if you see them on their place, or just laying there chewing a bone, click and treat and just say good dog and walk away. You'll notice your dog will respond to your voice if you're excited and intense versus if you're calm and low. And when you come and go, how you greet them and how you leave has a lot to do with the expectations that are set. If you leave and you're like, oh my gosh, my puppy, I'm so sorry I'm leaving you, they're going to feel that and they're going to emulate that and be upset when you leave. Or if you just calmly say bye and leave, they're fine. And then when you come home, if you're calm, and I highly recommend ignoring them for the first 1 to 2 minutes, walk in, put your groceries down, put your coat away, go to the restroom really quick, whatever you do, and then go say hi. It makes a huge difference. My husband will come home and sometimes he'll start howling in the garage to let them know that he's there. And they get really amped up and crazy. So how you set the stage has a lot to do with how they're going to respond. Let's talk about traveling home. You want to have the right size collar and leash. Everybody always buys these awesome leashes, but they're too thick or too heavy. And if it's too thick, it's gonna make them feel choked. Their little necks are very little. And if it's too heavy, that the clasp will hit their chest, and they don't like that. They'll start bucking and they'll rebel and just won't cooperate. So I recommend nothing more than a 3/8 inch width leash and collar. I know that's hard. So at first it's going to look like a little tiny cat collar almost, but that's what's the appropriate size for them. And you'll be able to go bigger soon, but in a few months or 2-3 months. But if you want to set them up for success, I would start there, and then bring some food if you're traveling at quite a distance, and water and bowls. Those collapsible silicone ones are great. And on the trip home, just hold them in your lap and they'll do great. If you try and make them sit in their crate in the back seat or something, they're probably gonna scream because they're used to having their siblings with them and their mama there. So, but if they're in your lap, they'll do wonderful. Great restraints for in the car. There's a little clip that attaches to their harness, and you don't want to do their collar, you want it to be on a harness. And then it goes into the seatbelt clip itself. Or there are booster seats, which I have, much to my husband's dismay. So it sits them up higher and they can look out, and it also restrains them inside of it. And then going potty on the way home. If you're driving, don't stop in popular dog places to go. Rest areas, like the road stop, the state-run rest areas. A lot of dogs that are in the show circuit stop there, and they have a lot of, unfortunately, parasites and diseases. So if you're going someplace, we always stop where nobody else would go. Like maybe we'll pull off on the exit and just find a little patch of grass or that kind of thing, or we'll stop outside a restaurant. But don't go where other dogs have gone, not outside of pet stores where other dogs go. Certainly not a dog park. I would avoid those always, because Giardia, which is a horrible parasite to get that people can get to, is picked up and transmitted through saliva and water there, and they all drink out of the same water, or the feces that's not picked up. It's just disease center waiting to happen. And parvo, which they're not fully inoculated against until that 18-week final shot, and that can be deadly. It's okay to take them into places, but just watch where you're putting them down. And if you're flying, most airports have a doggy potty area, but don't let them go in those if at all possible. I just take pee pads and go to the family bathroom and have them go there instead. Also bring some great chews, maybe rawhide and maybe one of those no hide chews, and then a stuffed animal for the travel, and they'll do great. And some treats, not too many, because you don't want to give them diarrhea, and make sure they're pea size. But you can use kibble for treats too, and I recommend doing that quite a bit until that doesn't work anymore and they want higher value. When you get home, hopefully they've gone potty before you go inside. Go at their pace. Most of these guys are just going to be ready to, go right in and be okay. Some of them may be more reserved and a little scared. Either is fine. We just go at their pace, give them their space, not like not having kids or adults right in their face and giving commands and all this stuff. Just let them take it in. Their entire world has just changed. It's the most exciting day for you in a very long time, but for them, this is terrifying. So just take it, view through their eyes if you can. Calm atmosphere is great, meaning not having the neighbors and all the aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody over for the first day or so. It was great as well, and just go at their pace as well. We did a video on potty training, so that is up and super helpful, hopefully. Let's talk about bedtime, the first night and ongoing. Put that crate right by your bed. They are used to companionship, and they are bred and raised for companionship. So eventually, after a couple of weeks, you could move it slowly out into a different room if you chose to. But for those first few nights, the first couple of weeks, keep it right there. Don't put them in until you're ready to have lights out and to go to bed. You're sure they've pottied, they've gone pee-pee, they haven't eaten in like a half hour or more. And then have a chew in there and a toy, have their blankie that smells like their mom, and then remove their collar so they can't freak out and hang themselves. Give them a great treat, and then you close the door, say goodnight, and you get in bed right away, lights out. If they cry, simply put your hand on the crate, say their name, and say quiet. Usually they don't. If they do, it's pretty mild. If they do cry, you're going to gauge their cry. Is it just, I don't like this, and I don't like this at all? Or is it, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay? If it's I'm not okay, take them out. Hold them. Let them settle down. Maybe they have to go potty. Even if they just peed and pooped, every one of my dogs do that, and they'll still have to sometimes pee and poop afterwards. They didn't do a thorough job or whatever. Just lots of mercy, lots of grace, okay? But they should settle pretty quickly. Don't get angry if they don't. Just mercy and grace, lots of compassion. Then, if they've been sleeping for any period of time and they start crying, you're going to take them out to go potty. Don't interact a ton, but I do give them a kiss and I do hold them and tell them they're a good boy or good girl. Carry them to the outside because they aren't going to make it if they're walking. And then when they go, bring them back in and do the whole thing over again. And hopefully they'll go right to sleep. Let's talk about food. The Life's Abundance food is the best I've found. I've taken master level courses run by the top scientists and researchers in the world on food, and not only like ingredients, but studying what it does for the dog's health and their body and their immune system and their inflammation level, which inflammation is the #1 cause of disease. So Life's Abundance is the best kibble I have found. Raw food is great, but I don't recommend it for puppies before 6 months old. And these guys, I have a hard time feeding them raw because they're just not a food-motivated breed. So they won't just sit down and scarf it up. My guys, it was a nightmare, and I finally just gave up. Sorry, there must be a delivery truck outside. Life's Abundance was made by a holistic vet, Dr. Jane, and it's 25 years recall-free, which is amazing. And like even the top brands on the market can't say that. And it's Dr. Jane is she sits on the AHA board and many regulatory boards. She's received awards from presidents, like national regulatory boards. She's a big deal in dog food, and she's the one who created the formulas. And each and every ingredient is the best possible ingredient that can be found. And the batches are made fresh, which no other dog food does that. And it's only stored and warehoused in Life's Abundance warehouses, so they know that it's temperature controlled and fats aren't getting rancid. And there are no artificial preservatives or dyes. You order it from the link that I've supplied for you. It's lifesabundance.com/oodles of fluffy doodles, and that way, for if any warranty issue ever comes up, I'll be able to track that you were feeding them that food. Don't get hung up on quantity of food that they eat. Life's Abundance is very nutrient dense, so they're not going to eat as much as other foods. So your bags will last you a lot longer, and they'll have less waste, which we always appreciate. You know, technically it says they'll eat up to 1 3/4 cups a day at this age. I'm feeding them 3 to 4 times a day, and I recommend you continue that. You can get them to 3 times a day easily until 6 months, and then go to 2 times a day. I know that's different from what Baxter and Bella says, but that's what there are 2 schools of thought, and that's the one that I agree with. But it's your puppy, and you can do as you see fit. They do self-regulate on amount. They don't make themselves fat. They do a really good job. So I just make sure if they want to keep eating, they do. Put your bowl down, give them 20 minutes. If they haven't, whatever they haven't eaten, you pick it up. Remember to use their food for training in the morning, first thing when they're hungry before they've eaten. When you do use treats, make sure they're pea size and not too many. And sometimes a treat can be too high value, meaning the dog will not listen to you. They're just like possessed trying to get the treat. Then you have to back it down to one that's not quite as high of value. Also, their new Vet Plus vitamin is fantastic. There is no food on the planet that has all those micronutrients in it. It's great for enhancing that immune system, which is still developing. It's not mature yet, which will help with longevity and health, which of course is what we want from our puppies. So I break that up and use that for training as well. And you can do it all in the morning or break it up through the day, whichever you prefer. I highly recommend feeding them in their crate or playpen, and also making them wait before you give them their food. And Baxter and Bella has a great video on it. Zach George on YouTube has one where you go to put the food down and you say, wait. And every time they come to it, wait. And then they'll stop. They'll figure out I have to stop. And then you put it down, kind of put your hand between them and the food, and then say, okay, and release it and let them eat. Teaches self-control, and it also teaches them that you are the source of their food. I never have a problem with my dog's food guarding, and I attribute a lot of that to that. Probiotics are another supplement that you can throw in. The food has probiotics in it, which is fantastic. I do supplement with more just because of life, and it's just so good to build that immune system. 80% of the immune system comes from the gut. I love Dr. McCullough Pets probiotic. It's the most thorough probiotic on the market, and it's a fair price. Formulated by Dr. Karen Becker, a holistic veterinarian that I really respect. Fortiflora is one by Purina that most vets carry. It's a great probiotic to stop diarrhea and to regulate bowels, but that's all that's in there. And then Dr. Lyons, Lyons, is great. I get that from Chewies.com. I think you might be able to get it at Amazon too. It's got all of the strains as well, most of them, not quite as many as Dr. McCullough's, and it's good to rotate which probiotic you have them on. It just creates a more balanced gut. Let's talk grooming. You should have a grooming video from me or a grooming email that has all the instructions, video, and everything. And if you decide to groom yourself, I'm happy to help walk you through. Give me a shout and we'll talk about it. Bathing every 2 to 4 weeks, maybe, or depending if they get more dirty. And at that time, I cut their nails, trim up their ears and their eyes. Make sure, remember, Australian Labradoodle, short ears. That's the trademark, and that cute little beard. You don't want the long poodle ears or Cocker Spaniel ears. Makes me crazy. You see a lot of breeders doing it. Practice laying scissors by their eyes, like this, just as they're hanging out. Just put the scissors closed right by their eyes and click and treat them, because that's where you're going to cut the hair on their eyes. It'll grow the most that you'll do in between professional groomings. And that's time well spent. And also do a lot of body handling. When you're holding on the couch, squeeze their little finger like you would if you were going to cut their toenails, which they've had this done since the day they were born. Touch their tails, their ears, inside their mouth, paws. Puppies don't like those areas touched. Top of the head is a big one, because everybody goes to pet your dog on the top and they like, get away, I don't know you, what are you doing? So I'll touch and click and treat, touch, click and treat with all those areas. It'll make grooming easier. Let's see, biting. Puppies bite. So a couple of things. First of all, have a toy to distract him, or just take the mouth and direct it away from you. Move him so him or her so they can't get you, and kind of just calmly massage them and get them to come out of the biting frenzy. Or stick a toy in the mouth. That's always great too. If that doesn't do it, maybe they need a timeout. Maybe they're bored. Maybe you need to walk them a little bit in the backyard, play a game, do that, roll a ball back and forth, always being mindful of not over exercising to strain the growth plates. But you can also do things like get a little treat ball that you put their food in that they have to roll to get their food out of, or putting their food in a Kong. A lot of times dogs are just bored and that's when they're naughty, or they're tired and that's when they're naughty, just like a toddler. So if you can't train, sometimes I'll make them sit and start doing commands to train them out of it. If that doesn't work, then if they're not hungry, then it's time for a timeout and probably a nap. Don't rough them up in the face. Don't play with your hands rough with them, pushing them, that kind of thing. Tug of war. If you do play, you always win. You never let the dog win, because that establishes that you are the alpha, not them. And I'm not big into that whole alpha thing, but it establishes that you are in charge, that they aren't. But it has to be calm. And I just don't recommend tug of war, especially in the beginning. So keep your play calm, watch them. Are they getting too ramped up? Then it's time to stop. And really watch kids, that they're not doing that too. If the dog starts jumping to a kid, tell them to stand like a statue, put their hands across their chest, turn their back to the puppy. Don't run. The dog's gonna think it's a game and chase you. Just making sure I've got, yeah, covered everything. Discipline. Make sure it's positive reinforcement. It's proven much more effective and works faster than the old school punishment. I'll show them who's boss techniques that I grew up with dogs being raised with. It's just not how it's done anymore. And we didn't know what we didn't know, but now we know better. Using those old school methods, pushing them down, making them submit. I'm alpha, you must submit. That is just not, it's just not even valid. And doing that breaks, first of all, the trust bond that we've worked so hard to create with them. It makes them not trust you and makes you seem like an unsafe person to them, which is really sad, because you're their world. And then that causes aggressive behaviors down the road, sneaky behaviors. They'll keep doing it, but they'll do it when you aren't watching, type thing. And we talked about in the potty training video, if you freak out on them, shove their face in it, they're gonna be like, this person is totally unhinged. I can never go to the bathroom in front of them. So they'll just sneak and go in your house, or they won't go outside maybe because they're afraid of you. So redirect is the #1 method of discipline. Train them out of it. If they're being naughty, call their attention, stand between them and whatever they're going after. Watch me, start making them sit, lie down, run through their commands. And if it doesn't work, maybe it's time for a nap and a timeout. For both of you, if you're losing your cool, I used to tell my kids, I need a timeout. Interruption is really important to do. Dogs don't like, just like kids, don't like to be interrupted. So I have worked with these guys. You pick them up and they'll growl because they're like, leave me alone. Shove a treat in their mouth. If they're chewing a great bone, carefully remove it and give them a treat, teaching them that, hey, if something is taken, you're going to get something better. So if you're having that problem, if you're picking them up and they're growling or whatever, just spend a few days giving them a treat, and then they'll learn, oh, good things happen to me when this happens too. So I don't need to be naughty. At this point, they can be in their crate for up to 2 hours at a time and hold their bladder. You can add an hour per month. So if you're going to leave for a period of time, put them in a playpen with a potty area to go, or have someone scheduled to come over and walk them. If they're jumping when you come home, turn your back to them, or just stand there and wait until they have all 4 on the floor, and then, yes, good puppy, and then you can pick them up and give them a treat. They've been trained that way and they know it. And then reinforce sitting to be pet as well. And if you don't reinforce these things, they'll quickly be lost. But that means they come to your feet. If they jump up, they get nothing, no attention, no interaction from you until they hit the floor, and with all floor and weight. And then socialization, super important. You are off and running. You have until they're 12 weeks old to socialize them. What happens is a puppy's brain is open to new experiences until they're 12 weeks old. And at that point, it shuts down into them. Anything not seen before is no longer exciting, but or novel. It is now dangerous and a threat. And then so if dogs that aren't socialized, it is very hard to get them to be socialized as adults, if not impossible. So you're balancing that. They don't have their full inoculation from their vaccinations yet, but it's more important to get them out into the public. Just don't let them walk inside PetSmart on the floor yet. Take them in their cart, on their blanket maybe, or a bed, with a leash on the cart so they can't jump out. I had a puppy do that. Oh, scared me so much. Try to have an outing every day if you can, whether it be to go to the neighbor's house, go meet the mail lady, go to Lowe's. That's a great place to start because there's not too much happening with other dogs and people. Work your way up to the pet stores, work your way up to a Saturday at the pet store. And Baxter and Bella has awesome checklists for socializing. Great, I highly recommend it. With socializing, go at their pace. If you go in the pet store and they're freaked out, really, hold them, make sure they're okay. Other great places to go, take them to the drive-throughs, like the dry cleaner, to go, go through the drive-through yourself for food. Go to the vet and the groomer and ask them if they can just come and sit on their table and get lots of treats. Scheels, if you have one by you, is a great place to take pets. Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, Duluth Trading, those kind of places. Some Home Depots let you, but a lot don't. And then the Tractor Supply stores let you, Farm and Fleet, those kind of things. Let's see, puppy classes, get them into a class, a training class, hopefully starting within a few days if you can. They're so good for them, and that starts the training, and that's huge for socialization, so big. If you're going to just do Baxter and Bella, I do recommend if you do Baxter and Bella, still putting them in a puppy class. But if you're just doing Baxter and Bella, then there are puppy play classes I know PetSmart and Petco do them on the weekends. It's free for an hour. Just really go in and check it out. Make sure that the person running it is protecting all the dogs, that there aren't too many dogs in there. No one's running roughshod over everybody else. I had a puppy last litter that, Jazz, she was wonderful. Her parents did a great job with her, socializing her. They took her to a puppy class. There were 10 puppies, one instructor, which that's an alarm right there. Shouldn't be more than 5, maybe 6. And there were the first thing the guy did was said, let all the puppies go. And they didn't know, they just let them go. And this dog came barreling for Jazz and knocked her over and just was not getting off of her. And she was terrified of dogs. Lori and Dave had to work for a long time to get Jazz to be okay with other dogs. I mean, it took them, I think, 2 hours with their daughter's really calm dog to get him clicking and treating to the point where he could be around them. Now, or she could be around them. Now Jazz loves other dogs and plays, but it was scary. So check your classes out. If you can, go and observe them ahead of time. Bring pea-sized treats, and a variety is really important to keep them from getting bored. Smellier the treats are, the better in the dog world. Higher value, special. And then things you'll want to work on probably right away are leave it. For if they're going after your feet or your ankles. Mine is they keep grabbing my kitchen towel and running away with it, or chasing the mop and broom, that kind of thing. Teaching them an automatic lie down instead of an automatic sit is kind of fun. And then teaching them what their release word is, teaching them what their place is, or their mat where they're going to go and chill, their kennel, that kind of stuff. And then you're just off and running with all kinds of fun training experiences. Remember, training can be just 2 or 3 minutes, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. You will be so far in advance, and just practice what we've learned. Just keep practicing it over and over again. And your new skills, just keep practicing them. All right, so that's it for the go home instructions. As always, let me know if you have any questions, text, email, or call. All right, have a great day.